Did you know that we get to choose to come from a place of love or fear? Our thoughts, our words, and actions steer us either to love, which is lighter, happier, and more at ease, or fear, which feels heavier and sad and confused. At Spiritual Diner, we choose to manifest love because we're always working on improving ourselves and being better versions of ourselves. But fear is a powerful motivator and it's worth exploration when it comes up. When it comes up, it means there's something for you to deal with. And so fear is there to teach us what we're capable of, whether good or bad. But coming from a place of love means we can set our ego aside enough to do for others, for the common good, or to spread happy vibes, or maybe make a positive difference in some way. Coming from a place of love could look like helping others with absolutely no expectation of anything in return. It could be being of service to others. Maybe you're manifesting or co creating something with someone else that leads to something beautiful. But coming from a place of fear might look like one doesn't really try anything new because of fear, or maybe some kind of paralyzing beliefs that keep one stuck. Or one's consciousness just might not be open to those things that are different. Just by the nature of their being, some folks possess something that resonates fear in others that seem to struggle with accepting diversity or change. But today, we'll explore love and fear and how it affects what we see and how we interpret the world around us.
Hello and welcome to Spiritual Diner, a live stream about consciousness, personal growth, manifesting, spirituality, learning to love yourself, expanding community, and so much more.
Yes, sirree. And each week we prepare a hot and relevant menu of fresh and healthy perspectives to nourish our minds, body, and spirit as we continue on this super adventurous journey of life.
I'm Vash, Boddie. I'm a journalist, manifester, healer, but I like to say coach, recipient of messages from a spirit guide, and someone who chooses to love ice cream.
And he can eat a lot of ice cream. Remember when we spent like 50 or 60 bucks on ice cream?
Oh my gosh, yes. It was fantastic. There was just ice cream everywhere.
I'm Tammy Reyes. I'm a teacher and an intuitive, conqueror of fear, and imagining a world of peace and love where everybody is respectful, clean, and happy.
Oh, that's so fantastic. We are just going to jump right on into today's special, love and fear. So love and fear are two really big emotions that drive us. So a positive emotion can come from love. And we often attribute negative emotions to fear. But we're going to explore both of these things. Let's talk about love, first of all. It was really interesting as we were putting together the show to figure out a really good definition of what love is. And the definition that we really kind of came up with that seemed to resonate the best was that love is the absolute, unconditional acceptance, welcoming, and appreciation of all that is and will be. Which is kind of a deep thing, right? I mean, usually people attribute love with the emotional state of how you feel for someone or what you feel for something. But when you boil it down, it really is that absolute unconditional acceptance and welcoming and appreciation of that person, that thing, etc., regardless of what may happen. It also, go ahead.
I kind of wonder too if love comes in waves, because when I thought about the things that I love and not in a romantic kind of way, it seems like when I revisit it, it seems stronger. I don't know if that's because I'm more grateful, but I just feel every time I think about the things I love, like I love where I live, I love my animals, I love my husband, I love the choices I get to make, I love the freedom that I have now. But each time I think about that, it seems stronger. I feel more connected to those aspects of love than the opposite emotion.
Really, that's. I mean, I love that. But that's really cool to really find that and to experience that and to appreciate that. I love that. I really, really do. This definition has really helped me in a way to sort of even open myself up even more to other things and people, and to really see if there is that unconditional acceptance and welcoming. And I think it's a really nice way to sort of start out.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk about fear. Our definition of fear that we thought was really appropriate for this conversation is an emotion aroused by impending danger or pain, whether the threat is real or imagined. And that's really deep and complex too, because sometimes
Right.
the thing that triggers that is in our head, just because, as you were saying in the beginning in the cold open, that it may be from trying something new, which is a different kind of danger or pain, where you may feel less competent, or you may think you might make a fool out of yourself, versus something that is actually dangerous, like perhaps, falling off a cliff or like
Mhm,
a
mhm.
not opening.
Yes. And we're kind of thinking of fear more as something that might prevent us or block us from tapping into love. And when we started to brainstorm and research fear, because it seemed so obvious at first, but once I researched it, it's like all these things came up that I didn't consider that also come up in readings that I do. So it made me a little bit more sensitive to the fears that people have. And it's not just a fear of a bear or a spider or something. It's
Oh,
the fear of trusting yourself to go out on a limb and do something new. For example, if you've ever been lost in a foreign place and you can't find your way back and nobody can give you directions because you don't speak the language, that really puts you in a mindset of being strategic and figuring out how you're going to get to where you need to go, how you're going to solve this problem. And so when you realize that and you're able to do it, find yourself from a lost place or whatever, it is empowering and it pulls you away from the emotion of fear and gets you back into trusting yourself and love. Does that make sense?
well, I mean, and this is why it's so important to look at this whole notion of fear outside of it being just a negative thing, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes fear triggers other things in you that make you better in the moment.
Yes, absolutely. So lately, I've been pondering the trip I've got coming up, and I'm going to have to deal with underground transportation. I have to do it, but you know how it stresses me out, the noise and sounds and the smells and everything like that. But when I take on the attitude of this is the journey where I'm going to do it, and I plan how I'm going to do it to overcome that fear, I feel like it's doable. I feel
Mhm.
like I'm going to be able to conquer that little fear. And that's just a small example, but imagine applying that to larger ones. So, considering that fear can be a motivator, it could get us over a hump, it could make us see our potential that we didn't even know we had.
Exactly. Exactly. So, we're not undermining the whole concept of fear as being this other thing, but we really want to see it in its totality, so we can balance out and always find power in whatever it is that we're feeling.
Yes, yes.
So,
That's why they go hand in hand, love and fear. They
yeah,
just blend in such a way that we can choose whether we're gonna go with love, and that actually changes our brain chemistry. Our brain starts opening up and saying, "Oh, here's how we solve this." But when we're in fear, our brain actually kind of freezes up, that fight or flight thing. And so just being aware of these 2 dualities is important. It's within all of us, and fear is a perfect opportunity to grow.
absolutely. It really, truly is. So, there's this concept that um, anger and resentment come from fear, and that it's sort of a lower vibrational concept. That fear is. Let's go in here and sort of get into that, into what this vibrational experience is. So a vibration is the atmosphere or energetic quality of a person, place, thoughts, thing, animal. It's the vibration that it gives off. And your emotional state can actually dramatically affect that. And I want to say that emotions can keep us stuck in a particular mode. If you're always afraid, or always in fear, you can kind of get stuck.
Right. I think it kind of ties into the concept of self-realization and loving yourself also. I think if you believe in yourself and you love yourself, it's easier to get over fear, the kind of fear that keeps us stuck from trying something new or going to a new place or even trying a different kind of food. So one could get really mad, lash out, be grumpy when someone near them gets COVID a couple weeks before a big journey coming up. You can get all stressed and flabbergasted about that or not. And so that is kind of hinting at something that happened a week ago where my husband came home and he was sick, and I handled it very badly because I immediately went into a place of fear, like, oh no, how's this going to affect my trip? Am I going to have the cooties? What's going to happen? When I caught how ugly I was being and the way I was treating him and the attitude that I had, I just shifted it. I just said, well, that's not very loving. So I had to shift into that place of love. And then it was obvious what to say, how to handle it. We took a COVID test. It was fine. So that's a good example of when fear blocked me from being nice and from solving the problem. And all problems are solvable. So why completely freak out about it? And so it seems like the more you think about coming from a place of love when fear or negative feelings arise, the more you do that, the easier it becomes to tap into the love vibe naturally. So you don't have to get all angry or spaz about something.
Yeah. Yeah. And really also being able to check in with ourselves. I mean, the thing about emotions is they often come on rather quickly, especially strong ones like fear or anger, or, I mean, even love. Love can rush on to us sometimes, but being able to have a sense of what is going on, tapping into, your own vibration, being self-reflective in your own vibration, so that we know when that's happening and we can respond in a different way.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's one thing that I want everyone to really, I think we say this all the time in the show, that it really is about self-reflection, like constantly being in this place of checking in with yourself to know what's going on so we can make choices that take us toward what we really want.
And then it changes that habit, if you've got one, of being a negative Nelly to being positive. And one of the first things I teach when teaching people how to do develop their intuition is imagine that you're rising above your actual physical body and looking down at the situation and looking at you. Look at your behavior. What's your face doing? How's your body language? And as soon as you do that, it puts you in a different perspective. You kind of realize the unpleasantness of it or how unproductive it is. And then that can help you switch to the view of, I'm going to turn this fearful, ugly behavior into something positive. Because like we said, it's an opportunity to grow. And the more you start thinking like that, being self-reflective, checking in on your vibration and your energy, the easier, the more automatic it becomes to switch to a place of love. So you don't freak out on things that you don't need to freak out on.
Yeah. I was driving.
That affects everyone around us. Like I had a situation recently where a neighbor kind of exploded over something, and he probably didn't need to do that. But his behavior, that explosion, affected all the people that were around that were just feeling like, well, what the heck is this? And so it's contagious in that when that happens, when you're with someone or in a situation where that happens, you can turn that right away into love by just thinking it, by checking your energy and thinking, I'm going to turn this to a situation of love, and it happens.
Mm-hmm. Just as a little anecdote on this whole notion of self-reflection, I think I was driving up from LA to come see you and Ray, and there's all these signs alongside the road that says slower traffic, keep right. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. How do you know if you're slower traffic? And I was thinking, because if someone's coming up behind you, if you're fast and someone's coming up behind you and they're going faster, suddenly you are slower traffic. I'm like, this is really a constant reminder to always be thinking about how you're moving through space and time and your relationship to other people in such a way that you are always in a shifting mode of what you're putting out and how you're affecting other people. And I always carry that around with me, that slower traffic, keep right. That's sort of my trigger to like check myself. What's happening?
Traffic is a great example, isn't it?
It
Because
really is.
you can tell when someone's in love or fear. I used to think, why are these old people driving so slow? And guess what? I find myself driving slower now, but that's kind of a funny anecdote, but also creates empathy, because it's just a different vibe when you're older and you don't have to be rushing around. Or maybe you're seeing that other people's driving can have a negative effect. So you're just positive, if that makes sense. A few months ago, maybe a year ago or so, I was at a stop and I had my signal on to turn right. And I was about 2 feet before the line that you're not supposed to pass when you get to the stop sign.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just there waiting. I looked to see if any people were coming, and I saw a man coming, so I didn't do anything. And when the man got to my car, an old guy too, he went like that onto the top of the car and cussed at me, and I didn't know what it was about. And I just froze. I was in fear because, nobody likes being treated like that. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. So that's an example of when fear just froze me. And it took a couple minutes to kind of get myself together and come from a place of love and realize, well, he must have been seeing something I didn't. And I wasn't going to hit him, grumpy old get off my lawn kind of man. And so when we catch ourselves in that fear, that's the time to switch our emotion and say, okay, I might not understand this person or situation, but I choose to come from a place of love, and that changes everything.
It really, really, really does. It really does. I mean, it changes the vibration of what is going on. Albert Einstein says everything in life is a vibration. So
Right.
I thoroughly agree with that wholeheartedly.
Don't you think the more we ponder all this stuff, that's even more true? Like, do you feel more tuned into people's vibrations now than a couple months ago? So I think that's evidence that when you start to be self-reflective and tap into the tools that you have that you might not have known you have, especially thinking about love and fear, it just changes who you are. It makes you more positive and able to deal with tough situations better.
Yeah, it really, really does. I do a lot of virtual things these days. So my interaction with real people is so incredibly limited. So like being able to pick up on a vibration from someone is I would say that I'm kind of at a deficit after these last 3 years. I mean, I see some people, but not a lot. And even when I go to the grocery store, it's kind of limited, and I yearn for that exchange of energy because I'm so used to it, and I'm so used to feeding off of it, and not even feeding off of it, but being able to interpret it and navigate through it. So,
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. And in regards to fear and our vibration, if we pay a lot of attention, at least for me,
mhm.
if we're paying a lot of attention to mainstream news or just television in general, that can kind of put you in a place of fear. It can kind of make you stop at that place where you can be self-reflective and overcome fear. It can keep you stuck. Does that make sense? Like I just tuned on the TV for a moment yesterday to see what they want me to think. And within a minute, I was thinking, I can't watch this anymore. It resonates so poorly. It just makes me drop down into this vibration of crabbiness and negativity and finding all the faults that are wrong with it,
Mhm.
instead of checking in and saying, oh, this is a false narrative, or this is one perspective. I'm going to choose to be on this path of love instead. And so, fortunately, awareness of our energy and the words that we use and the releasing of negativity around us, upsetting events and people and things like that, can bring us to a place of love. We're
Yeah, it
always
really can.
focusing on that.
Yeah. And to realize, as you were saying, with the news and television, a lot of times that's done intentionally.
That's what
Uh, Yeah. I mean,
that's
there
what
is,
makes me so gosh darn mad when I think about it. It's intentional. So
it
we
is.
need to be self-reflective and have some tools to tap into truth, whatever the truth is for you.
Yeah. And uh, developing the tools to be able to look at television in such a way that you can navigate through it, especially the news. I mean, with things that are entertaining, you know, I have rules for things that I will and will not watch. Um,
Mhm.
but for the news, I mean, sometimes you have to find out what's going on.
Yep.
But it's important to be able to find the information, the facts,
Yes.
verify them through another source, and get away from the sensationalism, because the words that they even use nowadays um, are intended to trigger you so that you come back and or stay watching them. So when you feel, you know, I'm talking to our audience especially,
Mhm.
you know, when you're watching something and you feel that it's taking you to a place, it is okay to turn it off. What was the slogan when we were growing up? Kill your television. Do you remember that bumper sticker?
Yes, yes, yes. Because the negativity is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
The like flipping around on the cable channels, one movie after the other is about destruction or the end of the world, or nothing against action movies. A lot of people like action movies, but there is a certain energy that comes with that that sensitive people don't like.
Right.
It's so the television thing is big. I find myself just watching, this is lame, but if I'm watching TV, it's always old movies. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean old, like from the 30s or 40s is my favorite, or like Columbo, or,
Uh-huh.
or the shows that I thought were completely dorky when I was a kid, but they seem to resonate with the positivity. There
Yes.
can be violence or unpleasant things that happen, but it's not so in your face negative the way television and movies often present themselves today. And that makes me think that, or know that love resonates at a higher vibration. So when some of us are exposed to the violence or the action or the negativity on the news, it actually brings us down. It can make us physically sick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, which is why in yourself, our self-reflection, we can tell when we're not even close to that place of love. Um, Fear resonates at a lower vibration, at a jagged one. It just doesn't feel as smooth as love does, you know? So
Yes.
let's talk about the high vibration of love. Um, you know, I use this expression, I call it, say, reset zero, that I use whenever I'm finding myself dealing with situations that are less than ideal. For me, if you're looking at a line or a continuum, anything to the left of zero is negative. It's just the numbers, right? Anything above that is positive. Being at that place of zero, you are just full of possibilities, right?
Right.
You mentioned traveling and getting lost can be really disorienting. All kinds of emotions can come up. But for me, I just say, all right, let's reset zero. Where are we? We are right here. What do we
Right.
got? We got money, you know, we got our voice, you know, personality, smile, charm in our brain. We are going to make it through. And suddenly there's a love vibration that allows all kinds of new positive possibilities and even brings in the help that's necessary. It's sort of amazing to watch. So I reset zero to make sure that I get back to that love vibration.
That's great. I kind of see it as being cool, calm, and neutral. And then when the situation comes up, whether it's positive or negative, then we can deal with it in a more loving way because we're not freaked out. Um,
Totally.
so love does resonate at a high vibration, and you can feel it. You can feel yourself getting jazzed and excited when you maybe make someone feel better. You can make a difference in somebody's day, or just enjoying your loved ones, or finding your bliss, tapping into that thing that really makes you happy and grounded. All of these things
Hmm.
resonate at a higher vibration of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes even just giving a smile or receiving a smile. For me, I love to smile. I did a lot for the smile. So just walking down the street or walking through the supermarket when I am in there and see someone, to just smile at someone, it's sometimes disarming to them to just have someone smile, and they don't really respond, but it's like you see them again in the next aisle as you come back around, and it's amazing the difference in that person.
Yes, grocery stores can also can grocery stores can sometimes be an interesting place to pick up on vibes. I was at the Smart and Final yesterday, and the checkout girl was very surly, but I still said, "Hi, how are you? I hope you're having a great day." And then she was kind of grumpy, but by the time I was done bagging my groceries, she was a lot more pleasant. And so I'd like to take that as a sign of when you put the positivity and love, even if someone's a grumpy puss, it changes the whole vibration of your interaction.
It,
And hopefully she was nicer to the guy behind me. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, hopefully, or and even if she wasn't, I think you definitely helped shift what was going on inside. I mean, it,
And that's a small example of how we could create that shift.
yes.
Because maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I would have been not responding to her or cold. And that's not where we want to be. And so that's why we say being mindful, self reflective, looking down at yourself and your behavior
Hmm.
is so important because you can turn any situation from fear into love.
Hmm.
This fear resonates at a lower vibration.
Yes, it
You
does.
know, for example, someone might be angry, unreasonable, or passive aggressive behaviors, ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in a mean way, I mean just things you don't yet know. All of those things can cause fear in somebody.
Hmm. Hmm. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Um, yeah.
And then part of fear and love is that almost all spiritual traditions point the way towards higher realms of consciousness. And there's scientific studies. One fellow I came upon, his name is Dr. David Hawkins,
Hmm.
even quantified the vibration of different states of consciousness on a scale. And that supports everything we've been talking about on Spiritual Diner of how when you are mindful to choose positivity, love, kindness, growth, the universe wants to meet you. It happens because you have the idea, the intention of changing that, of evolving your consciousness. And that's what philosophy is about. That's what religions are about, or opening up your consciousness. Hopefully, that's what they're about.
It's I think these days a lot of religions are about controlling people's consciousness and taking their money. That is my organized religions, especially big ones. It's a lot of shutting people down, and creating a great deal of fear.
I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that you said that because organized religion and the way that it made me feel that I've tried a bunch of things since I was a kid. I've been dabbling in different religions and philosophies, but it
Mhm.
just always made me feel like crap because it was as though they're putting a ceiling on what I can feel and believe that didn't fit. And when I talk sometimes about taking back my power,
Mhm.
I'm thinking of those times that I went to church events to be supportive of other people. I don't mean weddings and funerals though. And I just felt so bad because of the way they made me feel.
Mhm.
And so I guess I'm saying that I'm grateful to organized religion for helping me tap into that self realization that this is not for me. It's fine if it's for other people, but it
Yes.
just doesn't fit with how I believe. I find it stifling and negative. And it can squash the life force out of you with their mean negativity and judgment.
And again, we are not in any way, shape, or form putting down religion in general or salvation or anything along those lines, because there are amazing churches that are out there. There are amazing things that religions are doing. But I always tell people, check how you feel as you're going through that process. Like, what are you
Yes.
being taken through in order to get through what they're taking you through?
So that organized religion is resonating at a particular vibration, but each church is different and each leader
Yes,
of the church is different.
very.
So yeah, I'm not completely putting down organized religion, but I think it's clear that I feel that it's simply not for me because
Mhm.
it's just too limiting. But with that said, I'm open. I'm open to hear those ideas. And I love going into churches, the architecture and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
So again, coming from a place of love helps us cut through that to pull out the positive.
absolutely, absolutely, and support anybody who's actually trying to do the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when you're coming from a place of love and resonating in a place of love, your vibration can actually change the atmosphere in a room. Um, I know for a while I was taking care of a friend who was not doing well. He was very, very sick. And I remember getting a call saying that I should come back, down to Los Angeles to sort of look in on him and help him out. And I arrived, was only there for maybe a half an hour before some other friends came over to see him. And when they walked in the door, one of the women said, "Is Vash here?" And I poked my head out of the other room and I said, "Yeah, I'm here. Why?" She goes, "I could feel you in this space." She goes, "I could feel the difference in the energy in this room from when I was here just an hour and a half ago." We hugged and everything. So it's when we talk about our vibration, when it is in a place of love and what it can do to a space, it is really real.
Right. Yes. I can't say that word sometimes, palpable, where you can
Absolutely.
actually feel it in a way that can uplift you
Hmm.
or a way that can be really heavy, causing
Hmm.
fear, which is a perfect time to realize, oh, I'm uncomfortable in this situation. I'm feeling fearful, but I'm in a neutral place coming from love. So here's how I'm going to conquer that. And we were
Exactly.
thinking about vibration stories, like if we had to share a story that exemplified that vibration and how it could be so palpable.
Hmm.
I was thinking of the last year that I was a school teacher, and every year they have this back to school thing where all of the faculty and staff have to come to some one location, and we're fed a bunch of ridiculous stuff to help get us motivated for the upcoming year. But it was always a bunch of fluff. And the last time that I went in there, I went into the room and I was happy to see a lot of the people because they're such lovely people. But at the same time, like never before, there was a message that said, "This is not for you anymore." And
Hmm.
I couldn't sit there, even though there were people that I liked. I couldn't sit there. It felt like I was in this huge pit of negativity and dishonesty. And I had to get out of the room, which I've never done. I always sit and listen and polite, but I just got out of the room and I remember pushing my friend Christine out of the way at the door. Thank goodness she doesn't remember that. But I had to flee. I had to get out of there. I just could not handle that vibe. Now,
Hmm.
if I had to do it today, I'd probably do it differently. But if I had, I don't think I would do it today because I wouldn't allow myself anymore to be put in a place of such negativity where it actually makes me sick, hard to breathe, and so on.
Yeah.
So in that situation, when I got out of the room and I felt really weird, like, oh, how disrespectful. What am I doing? What's going to happen? That's when almost like, the clouds cleared and the sun came through and there was, "Ah," where I was being shown some kind of shift was going to happen. So that fear, that negative space that I was in, and just getting out of it, automatically there was a shift. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what the future held for me, but within weeks, something had changed and the problem was solved. And so that's my little vibration story of how I went in and I didn't change the energy of the place. It was too great. It was too heavy overall with hundreds of people participating in this lie.
Mhm.
But getting out of that difficult energy space was the beginning of raising my vibration. So we have to be mindful if we're going into a place that's negative with bad mojo or whatever, we've got the power to overcome that by different things that we suggested, or it's fear saying, hey, you got to have another plan. You have got to move on and out of this dense vibration. So
So are we talking about how to shift from fear to love?
we are talking about that. And we're also, yes, talking about how when we're in that space of fear, name it, identify it so that we can move on. And it's all about shifting from love to fear.
Yeah. I mean, and that can take a little bit of effort, but the goal is to make it so that it becomes easier for us, right? I mean, one
Right.
of the things that we can do to shift from fear to love is to cultivate a sense of inner peace, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and that uh, it's because it maintains a certainty and brings us back to a perspective of love,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
whether that's a resetting of zero for yourself or what have you, um, it really can help.
Right. And that's why we're making a big deal about cultivating inner peace. You've got to have that thing that's your happy place that you can go to. It might be a state of mind or a certain activity, but I know that I'm always looking forward to coming home and enjoying my garden and my pets. Sometimes that tapping into inner peace might just be a quiet, reflective time where I'm thinking about the day
Mhm.
or positive things ahead. But I think that cultivating inner peace is key to making that shift from being fearful and negative and not bringing out your best to being positive. Because the more we mentioned earlier, the more you hit on that, the more natural it becomes to come from a place of love. So I'm wondering what viewers do to cultivate their inner peace because it's so a part of being on a spiritual journey. You've got to be able to tap into love within yourself. And that's the inner peace that we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's all kinds of things we can do to foster that inner peace. So
yes.
I'll just throw out some and then you throw out some more, Vash. But
Love.
for me, inner peace is finding some kind of new truth or learning something that I just love and then applying it to my personal goals or daily routine. For example, my quiet time. I've got that all throughout the day where I can just sit and reflect upon things. Other things that bring me into my happy space to tap into inner peace is just appreciating what I have. My good home, my mate, my wonderful friends, good family, safety, all of that helps foster inner peace. And I'll stop talking in a second, but will we start latching on to that gratitude of all the things that are happening in the right way for us? That helps us be more reflective in a positive way. So we can start to release baggage or negativity that is there
Mhm.
and replace it with positivity. So that gratitude for everything that I have is so powerful to help me move from a place of fear into love.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my journey is similar, right? Like I am. There have been so many times and experiences where there have been things going on where fear has been such a big emotion, but just to be able to like take a breath and realize that we have the ability to manifest new things, breathing into it. And I have just literally watched issues, troubles, traumas just really melt away and new things come into being. And that trust in that has been such a great source of inner peace because there's an Indian proverb, everything works out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end. Which just gives you this whole notion of continuation and continuum that there is always time for something new to come in and make things all right.
Right. You just have to open yourself up to that. Just open just think, I'm open to receiving positivity because the words you say, the intention that you have shifts the chemistry in your brain, raising your vibration.
Yes.
In my own case, it was slow going. It was always a trajectory toward positivity, but I was still kind of a negative Nelly. Being conscious of my mood, how how I could be affecting others, just tapping into those times where fear and ugliness was coming up
Hmm.
and catching it and releasing it, replacing it with love became so much more automatic to where I had a hard time coming up with examples of fear. I kept thinking it was something like a fear of spiders or, me driving off a cliff, but it's much deeper. And there
Uh-huh.
seems to be a theme of self-realization and self-love. When you love yourself enough and really value yourself, it seems like you can bring on love a little bit easier to conquer when the fear comes up. And before you know it, it could be habitual and you're just finding love all over the place.
Well, this is why I think our definition of love is so important. And I want to bring it up again because I think it's important. Our definition of love is the absolute unconditional acceptance, welcoming, and appreciation of all that is and will be. And that's pretty much what you just said again.
Mhm.
It's super powerful knowing that there's an acceptance of what may be coming along and how it may, you know,
Yes.
become, you know,
Yeah.
it's just really a
Yeah.
nice openness.
Right.
Great story. Um, Another thing that we can do to shift from love and fear is unleash creativity. Creativity.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to be creative because we are all creative beings. I mean, we talk about this in our episode about manifesting, that we're always in that process. When you know that you're in that process, it really does unlock our subconscious and tap into it. It helps to develop our imagination because if you can conceive something, you can achieve it. So taking a piece of paper and a pair of scissors and cutting something into something that was not there before just reinforces in your brain that you are able to make something new. And it's amazing how that filters in to all the other aspects of your life.
You
It's
said
important developing intuition. It's important for your spirituality journey. It's important for developing and expanding our psychic abilities, and really for being just a basic good human being.
absolutely. Um, and it could be so healing to jump into something creative when you're in pain. I know a few years ago we lost Ray's parents so close together.
Mm-hmm.
It sucked. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with those feelings or how to help my man. And so I just started painting.
Yeah.
And in that process of painting, it's kind of a form of meditation. I'm not saying that it took away all the pain or provided me all the answers for what I needed to do to move forward, but it did put me back in that place of neutrality. So there's only up. There's only the only way to go is up from there. So busying yourself with something creative does something with your brain and the chemistry to free you, to
Mhm.
lift up your vibration naturally. There's
Yeah.
so many different ways that we can express that creativity.
Yeah. When I was taking care of my friend who was sick, what I ended up doing was I started creating these things called glitter meditation bottles. And, here is just a small sampling of the different varieties. They were all, I took Voss water bottles and glitter and sequins. There were 7 different sizes of sequins so that when you would shake the bottle, on the left, you can see it is at rest, meaning it had been sitting for at least a day. But when you would shake it up, everything would go crazy. And then over the course of 7 to 8 hours, it would settle. So it was like a sand painting met a snow globe, met, it was just really a visually beautiful thing. And that really not only tapped into my creativity, but it really connected me to a large number of people because people would see them and fall in love with them. And so it really fed me. So not only did it help me, but it helped me connect with other people. And then it also helped them all get to a place of love.
Yes, I remember when you were going through that period, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw a shift in you. I saw not that you were not open, but more of an openness to love, beauty coming in, because beauty is another thing that
Mhm.
raises our vibration. And pretty sure you owe me one of those glitter bottles, Vosh. We haven't talked about it, but I'm pretty sure that you owe me. It seems like you gave me one and then you took it away for some reason. And I liked it. I liked the process of shaking it up and just watching everything, because all the little things moving inside is a form of meditation. Takes you out of that place of "Argh," and puts you in a more thoughtful neutrality sort of zone.
Yeah. And the design of them, if I'll just bring them all, the other ones all up again. Hold on 1 second. The design of them really was to connect people. They were supposed to all settle at the same time. And the thought was that if multiple people had them and we shook them at the same time, that we would be in some sort of connected meditative state. So there was so much to them that really did open me up, because suddenly I wasn't just thinking about myself in them. I was really thinking from a complete connected human experience. So
Yeah, you were tapping into the collective love.
for sure, for support, because it was a dark time. So I went to Sparkle.
um, and it's interesting how creativity can make that shift. Remember when we were going to do the bedazzling? And I was really having trouble with what to bedazzle and how much to bedazzle, which I totally want to do again, because I was so stuck in the, am I doing it right? Is this the right place? Am I going to make a mistake? And that kind of kept me limited. Does that make sense? So when you just start to release that and just embrace creating and negativity, no matter, or creativity, no matter what that looks like, it changes you. And others can't help but be positive about the thing that you're creating, because you're creating something beautiful. And if you encounter someone that puts that down in some way, well, you're just seeing where they're at on a vibrational level and you can move on.
Yep.
Because we're about, and Spiritual Diner really promotes the idea to dominate your frequency with love.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of borrowed that idea from one of the world's top astrologers. Her name is Pam Gregory. And she talks about dominating your frequency with love, emphasizing when you're exposed to new information or you're just going about your day, experience things first through your heart before your rational mind. Just feel it through your heart. And that automatically puts you in that place of neutrality and an opportunity to move forward with love instead of negativity. And so, let me get a glass to see a little bit more. Yeah. So when you are coming from, when you're dominating your frequency with love and coming from a place of love, the decisions that you make, the things that you do, the way you work with others shifts, because you're coming from a place of love. When you're coming from a place of love, it's as though you're setting your ego aside a little bit, because it's not about you and what you can get out of it anymore. It's really that exchange of energy that's so uplifting, like what you talked about when we go to the store or we encounter someone that's just so positive. When we're coming from a place of love, it lifts us all up. We can co-create new experiences, anything. When it's coming from a place of love, it attracts more love. It resonates love. You seem to meet the right people that also are vibrating at a higher level of love. And the more you think about it, it's like you don't even want to think about fear anymore. You don't have all the hesitancy to move forward and take a chance, because you're coming from a place of love. And that can sometimes get you out of a dangerous situation, or it could, for example, I'm thinking of a girl who was in a tough situation with a guy, and it looked pretty scary, like she might have been abused or hurt or something. But she chose to come from a place of love and tell him how fabulous he was, and we've got to get together later, and so on, like that. So she shifted that vibe of fear that was so present and real into something a little bit more less dramatic, so that he believed her, that they would hook up later or whatever. You can change the whole vibration of another person or a room or a situation when you're dominating your frequency with love. So if you come upon a problem, like, oh, your technology won't work that day, then go back in and take that information into your heart first to get you to that place of neutrality so that you can move forward with love.
Yeah. And again, whenever I hear the word love now, I think of our definition, which is this unconditional acceptance of what is coming in, because it's always, that expression of it is what it is. That is because once you know what something is, you get to react and respond in a way that is going with that flow. It is very
Yeah.
Tai Chi. It is very, just moving with the energy that is and sort of sending it on its way. If it's something that you would rather avoid, or keeping it with you if it's something you want to keep, but not getting caught up in the energy of it all that is going to either draw more of that ickiness or, pushing it aside so more good stuff can come in. So I really love
Right.
the definition of love.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great one, Vash. And so, really, it's all about when we're challenged in some way by fear or some kind of hesitancy, pay attention to that.
Mhm.
It might be something we need to explore to be able to grow in some way, but also it helps us get back to that, what do you call it, 0 point?
Yeah, resetting zero.
Resetting 0
Mhm.
or neutrality so that you can choose. It's always such a choice to move forward with love so you're not all reactionary and everything.
Exactly. So when we are aware that love and fear drive our emotions and our possibilities, as well as our future and what we can manifest, choosing to come from a place of love is going to raise your vibration. Regardless of what you're going through, we always have that choice to respond in love or fear. And we really, really hope that if you have made it this far in this broadcast, that you will now start choosing the higher vibration of love so that you can manifest more of the things you want along your spiritual journey.
Absolutely, because it is a choice. No matter what kind of muck you're in, it's a
Mhm.
choice. And
It
that
is a choice.
choice of love is powerful. The whole universe wants to work with you. So,
Absolutely.
yay, choosing love. We have the power
Well,
to do that.
it's time for dessert, Tammy.
That's my favorite part.
Yes, indeed. So, over the last few weeks, we have shared with you spiritual books, spiritual movies. I don't want to say they're spiritual movies, books and movies that we say have helped us along our spiritual journey. And today, for dessert, we are sharing our spiritual songs that have done amazing things for us. So, we're going to start off
Oh
with
boy.
Tammy's choices. Oh boy.
Okay, so number one on my list, and it was at my wedding, is Imagine by John Lennon. When I was little and heard that, and I really appreciate the clarity where I could actually hear the words, I was probably 7 or 8, it just struck a chord.
Ah,
I knew that was me. That's how I envision everything. That's why the little issues with organized religion or governments or stuff like that. Because what if we imagine everybody just living in peace?
yeah.
And that is a powerful visualization. So that's my number one song for in a spiritual sense.
Nice. Nice.
And then my next one is "Blowing in the Wind" by Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's a little bit dorky, but I really went through a folk music phase, and I love Peter, Paul, and Mary. Now, when "Blowing in the Wind" came into my perspective, I was losing my very best pet ever, Tweety Bird. And so there was something in that that resonated truth, hope, and it kind of built upon Imagine too, with that sentiment of, just love each other, be kind, and then we can create all this wonderful stuff in the world. So that was my second choice.
Nice.
After that, I evolved musically a little bit and really got into a funk thing and adored Sly and the Family Stone. That is a great record. And so my third choice is Everyday People by Sly Stone. And I chose the quote, um, I I can't see it.
I am no better, neither are
Oh,
you.
you. We
We're
are
all
all
the
the
same.
same. Whatever we do.
Yeah.
Yes, that kind of fit with the other two songs that I chose because we're all at this place of getting to explore our humanity and grow, evolve personally and on a collective level. And I just think those songs really do that. What
Yeah.
about your choices?
They really, really do. So my choices, um, my first one is All About Love by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Now, I am a firm believer that Western civilization, the world, took a dive when Earth, Wind, and Fire broke up because they were the people who were giving us all kinds of good advice on ways that we could live better and in the world. So All About Love, for me, the lyric in that really touched me was, you have to love all the beautiful things around you. And if there ain't no beauty, you have to make some beauty. So there is this sense of responsibility to the world around me that was impressed upon me as a little kid. I mean, I think I heard this song the first time maybe when I was 10 or 11 years old. So that's always been a huge part of who I am.
It's interesting you picked that because they exude positivity, acceptance, and love.
Absolutely.
Or they used to when they were all together and you know.
The original, like when they were back in the day doing their vibe. Yeah, I mean, even today, like, it's hard to find someone who doesn't love at least one Earth, Wind, and Fire song, right? Like, because that's what they bring out in people. So I really love them.
Yeah.
The other song for me is actually kind of a dance tune, if you can imagine. It's called It's Yours, and it's by John Cutler featuring this man called E-Man. And this song in particular has helped a couple of my friends on their spiritual journey. The lyric that really is so amazing, and it's throughout the song, is that there is an approaching light, a flowing, soaring through the world. The fire burns within your heart, and now it's yours. I mean, did you feel that? Like, whenever I even sing it or hear it, it really is such an amazing and energizing thing. And it's so very true. The light that's in the world is within you, and it's yours. It powers everything that you do. And then the last song that I am sharing, and there were so many, it was so hard to choose from, right?
I know. Hard.
I can't wait for our audience to share in the comment section whenever they watch this and tell us what their great spiritual songs are. The last one for me is You Are the Universe by the Brand New Heavies. And the lyric is, you are the universe, and there ain't nothing you can't do. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. That's why I believe in you. Yes, I do. Perfect. I used to wake up to that every morning. Like, that was my wake up song every morning. It was like, you know what? Let's get recharged. Let's get re-energized. Let's tell everybody what's going on in the world and what's going on with us. Because if I can conceive it, I can achieve it. And I believe in myself.
And music has a vibration all of its own, and that could really lift you up or not. It was really hard for me to pick the songs, Vash. Imagine was a no-brainer. But all the rest, there's just so many because I started to reflect upon my first musical love and then what came next. And music's always been so dominant for me that it made me kind of retrace my whole life to get to the place where I am today, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Same with me. Like, it's the same thing. And I, go back to these songs over and over and over again whenever I need an adjustment, whenever I need inspiration, or sometimes when I just need to give them on to someone else. It's like, here, listen to this song.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a powerful tool as a school teacher with the kids too.
Yeah.
And young people are so open to different kinds of music. So in closing about our tunes, it's really important to share music with other people and the music that inspires us. And when they're young, you can hook them. I was raised by my granny and she was an opera singer. And so that kind of set the tone to be open to all kinds of different music. Yeah. So music can lift our vibration.
And all different types of music is important for me, from bluegrass, as you reminded me that I love, which is hilarious. Folk music, all of it. It's all really, really good. Well, we have come to that time in the show where we have to say goodbye. I mean, this has been another really, truly inspiring show. Again, learned a lot creating this. I'm walking away with an amazing definition of love that I can't wait to share.
Me too. It's a lot of food for thought when we can think about love and fear and really embracing love.
Yeah,
So, folks, make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast if you can so that you never miss an episode. And please tell a friend about Spiritual Diner because we sure need more patrons at the Spiritual Diner.
that's right. If you found value in this show, please make sure that you hit that like button. And we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and or like and follow us on whatever platform. We are Spiritual Diner on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter or X or whatever it's being called these days.
And
It's hard to keep up.
I know. You're telling me. Thank you so kindly for tuning in. And some of you have been with us from the very beginning. So shout out to you. Thank you kindly. Your support means a lot. And when you ask questions, that really helps us to know what direction to go into next. It's been so fun cooking up this episode for you.
Yes, indeed. I am Vash, Boddie, and as Tammy said, we really appreciate you having been with us through these 9 episodes. We cannot emphasize enough the importance of going back and watching episodes because there's so much information in them that even we watch them again and get new information out of them. So we will see you on the next season of Spiritual Diner.
Thank you and blessings.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great week.